1943, Her Majesty the Queen paid visits to two famous regiments, of which she is Colonel-in-Chief. First, she saw the Black Watch, Royal Highland Regiment of Canada, senior of Canada's many Highland units, and senior of the various Dominion units allied to the parent Black Watch. With Lieutenant Colonel F.S.T. Cantley, the officer commanding, the Queen passed along the ranks of the battalion, stopping to chat with the men and winning all hearts with her charm and grace. Then the battalion marched past with faultless precision, a regiment proud indeed of its old traditions and waiting for the day when it will add to them. The Queen's standard broke out once again when Her Majesty visited the Toronto Scottish. Here was another famous Canadian unit, allied to an equally famous British regiment, the London Scottish, itself allied to the Gordon Highlands. The Toronto Scottish is unique in being the only Canadian unit allied to a British territorial regiment. Accompanied by the commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel E.G. Johnson, Her Majesty inspected the troops. In the grounds of a 500-year-old estate, the Toronto Scots marched past their Colonel-in-Chief with the easy swing of veteran troops. And so the Queen departed, leaving behind a memory of gracious dignity, which her soldiers will long cherish. Squadron Leader Blake Wood of Toronto gives final instructions to Flying Officer D.M. Bitsy Grant of Calgary and Flying Officer J.A. Morton as they prepare for another day's work. While Morton's aircraft is made ready to act as Grant's Weaver to protect him from rear attacks, these men are ace pilots from an RCAF Army Co-op squadron who have been scoring big hits in train-busting operations against the enemy. Train-busting, on a preconceived plan, has ceased to be a hit-and-miss proposition and has assumed vital importance, paralyzing enemy-controlled rail traffic, creating an engine shortage, and in general, putting a real crimp in Germany's war effort. These operational films, supplied by the RCAF Film Unit to the Canadian Army newsreel and released here for the first time anywhere, show a routine day's work in the life of Betsy Grant and the other pilots in his squadron. Yes, Joe, you're right, they're Mustangs. Target for today, tally ho, or whatever they say at the airport. Industry is hampered, troop movements disorganized, supply lines in chaos. It's just one more task in the varied day of the Army Co-op pilots, but it's certainly a day well spent.
Canadian troops were once more honored by a visit from royalty when His Royal Highness the Duke of Gloucester spent 3 days in the field with them. The first day, he spent inspecting various units of Army troops. He visited a detachment of the Canadian Dental Corps and No. 6 Casualty Clearing Station, and he praised the high standard of training and of efficiency which he found. On the second day, His Royal Highness saw a display by the 3rd Army Tank Brigade, while the 18th Armored Car Regiment also staged a demonstration of armor in the attack. The Duke then saw the 4th Divisional RCASC and was impressed with the speed and smartness of the men who get the supplies forward. With Major General Worthington, the distinguished visitor inspected a guard of honor from the 28th Canadian Armored Regiment. His Royal Highness then saw an assault demonstration by the 11th Infantry Brigade, supported by tanks. Tank obstacles were bridged, and infantry, engineers, carriers, and tanks struck forward to the attack. One of the last events of the tour was a formal inspection of the Royal Winnipeg Rifles, who gave their royal visitor a real send-off. And the Royal Canadian Engineers trained together at the famous British School of Military Engineering. Mine laying and lifting is one of the many tricky jobs learned from men who know the enemy's tricks. The prefabricated bridge building technique, using standard bits and pieces assembled and bolted together, reminds you of the days when you played with erector and mechano sets and built your own private bridges. But this simple yet speedy method of bridging is a specialist's job, and the men of the Royal Canadian Engineers learn to be specialists from specialists. There's a right way and a wrong way to do everything, and the right way is demonstrated and explained by a British instructor whose advice will come in mighty handy the day of the big push. The Royal Canadian Engineers get their teeth into the enemy, the Nazis will find that their bridge work is pretty solid.